Imagine the Roman Empire, the most powerful on earth, humiliated, burned, bleeding by the hands of a woman. She was not just any warrior, she was a mother. She was beaten, saw her daughters raped, and had everything taken away by Roman soldiers. And at that moment, she decided that Rome would pay with her own blood. This is the story of the most brutal war Rome ever faced, and the enemy was a queen. Get ready, because what you're going to see now, Rome tried to erase it from history, but today, the truth will burn brighter than ever. In cold, foggy Britain, a woman has risen up against the greatest military power on earth. His name was Boudica. She was not a goddess nor a legend. She was a queen of flesh, fury, and pain. When Rome attacked her people, she retaliated with fire in her eyes and an army of vengeful souls. No Roman legion was prepared for the chaos that would come. She didn't just want to win, she wanted Rome to bleed, and it bled. The conflict began with something brutal. After her husband's death, Boudica was publicly humiliated. His possessions were taken, his daughters raped by Roman soldiers. This was not just an offense, it was an insult to the dignity of an entire people. The empire, by trying to dominate by force, lit a flame of revolt that is impossible to extinguish. Boudica, wounded, became a living symbol of resistance, a queen who would not bow her head even before the Roman eagles. If that moment revolted, if the blood boiled in his veins as he imagined what Boudica and his daughters suffered, then you need to be a part of something bigger. Here, each video isn't just about history. It's a cry for justice that spans the centuries. Like it now? This simple gesture is your way of saying, I don't accept injustice and I want more people to know this forgotten truth. Subscribe to the channel and join this legion of restless minds who don't just want to know, want to feel. Boudica raised a people with the strength of pain. Now, raise your voice with one click. More than a tribal leader, Boudica was. A mother, a warrior, a symbol of freedom. Tall, hair red as fire, fierce eyes like a cornered wolf. According to reports, his presence caused silence even among the most brutal warriors. She did not rule by fear, but by the courage she inspired. His voice carried the pain of an oppressed people, and his spear pointed directly at the heart of Rome. She was more than a woman. She was a storm clothed in fury. Boudica led the Iceni, a Celtic people who inhabited eastern Britain. They weren't just farmers. They were born warriors, accustomed to cold, hard land, and quick death. When Rome demanded tribute and imposed their culture by force, the Iceni saw their identity threatened. Under Boudica's leadership, they found a deeper purpose: to fight for their survival as a people. They didn't want wealth. They wanted revenge. In the heart of the empire, a woman leading an army seemed absurd. For Roman generals, war was male territory, but Rome did not understand that a mother's pain is the most powerful weapon in history. Boudica wore no golden armor, but his will was iron. By treating her as weak, Rome sealed her disgrace. What would come next would not be a battle. It would be a massacre. The first city to fall was Londinium. Without enough legions to defend, the Roman citizens tried to flee, but Boudica arrived first. In a matter of hours, the city was in flames. Men, women, and children were massacred. She didn't want prisoners. He wanted every Roman stone to be stained with blood. It was his response to rape, humiliation, tyranny. Rome, there, felt for the first time the taste of fear. Unlike the Romans, who had discipline and strategy, Boudica used chaos as a weapon. His army was made up of villagers, women, old men, and tribal warriors. But anger gave them strength. They did not follow war manuals. They followed cries of pain. They attacked like a storm, burned cities, looted temples. And they disappeared into the mist before any Roman reinforcements arrived. Boudica's war was savage, ruthless, and impossible to predict. The city of Verulamium thought it could negotiate. I was wrong. Boudica and his allies destroyed everything. Houses were burned, with families inside. There was no distinction between soldiers and civilians. For her, everyone who wore the Roman toga was guilty. There was no compassion, only ancestral justice. More than 70,000 dead were counted in the first 3 attacks alone. Rome was not only facing a rebellion, he was facing a Celtic apocalypse. News of the rebellion crossed the sea and reached the Senate. Panic. Some urged them to leave Britain, others demanded immediate reinforcements. For the first time, Rome was threatened by a wild woman from distant lands. They were accustomed to ruling by fear. Now, they were the ones who feared. Boudica's rebellion became a living legend, and his image haunted the dreams of emperors and generals. General Gaius Suetonius Paulinus was assigned to crush the revolt. A cold, experienced, merciless man. He knew he couldn't win in the open field, but he also knew that the barbarians celebrated victory too soon. He used this to his advantage. He retreated, forced Boudica to attack in tight ground, and prepared the counterattack. It was the beginning of the battle that would decide the fate of Britain and the future of Rome. Boudica gathered almost 200,000 warriors. Paulino had about 10,000. In numbers, the Celtic victory seemed certain, but the Roman general chose a narrow gorge, which nullified the enemy's numerical advantage. The legion positioned itself as a living wall. When the British attacked, they found impenetrable shields and spears that they cut like judgment blades. The field has become a slaughterhouse, and the rebellion began to crumble. It was not only men who fought for Boudica. His troops included women armed with spears and shields, some even mounted on horseback. They did not fight for glory, but for dead sons, enslaved husbands, raped daughters. Each blow was a prayer of vengeance. The Romans were shocked. They had never faced women who advanced without fear. But there, in that bloody valley, even the most ardent courage found its limit. The defeat was absolute. The war chariots of the Celts, parked behind the battlefield, blocked the escape. What was an army became a death trap. Men, women, and children were trampled on, killed, crushed on top of each other. The Roman soldiers advanced like blades cutting grass. No one was spared. The ground turned to mud mixed with blood. There, the largest uprising against Rome on British soil ended. Boudica's body was never found. Some say that she poisoned herself so as not to be captured. Others believe that it disappeared into the forest, taken away by the gods. His death became a legend. But what she started was eternal. The name Boudica echoes to this day as a symbol of resistance. Rome won militarily, but spiritually lost. Because he never again completely controlled the spirit of Britannia. For centuries, Boudica was erased from Roman records. Only fragmentary texts spoke of it, but her people worshipped her as a goddess. Today, her statue in London reminds the world that freedom has a female face. The war she fought was not only on land, it was for dignity. And even defeated, it triumphed where many generals failed. It entered eternity. No battle on British soil killed as much as Boudica's rebellion. It is estimated that more than 150,000 people have died. It was more than numbers. It was an open wound in the soul of the empire. Rome has not forgotten. He learned to fear the fury of the peoples he judged inferior. And from that day on, she never underestimated the power that burns in a woman's heart. In the following centuries, when empires fell and rose, Boudica's name came back to the fore. Revolutionaries, writers, queens, they all found in her a symbol of courage. Not because I won, but because I fought to the end. It is living, proof that history does not belong only to the victors. It belongs to those who dare to resist. After the rebellion, Rome changed its way of governing Britain, more diplomacy, less brutality. Boudica's shadow hung over each new decision. It had proven that military control is not eternal. All it takes is a spark, a wounded heart, and a fearless leader, and even the most powerful empire in the world trembles. Today, in times of modern struggles, Boudica is remembered as an icon of female resistance. His name is in songs, statues, books, movies. Because your story is not from the past, it is a lesson for the now. When injustice becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. And in this duty, a woman can change history. If at any time this video made you feel Boudica's strength, share it. Don't let the story of the woman who faced Rome and almost won be forgotten. Because as long as there is memory, she's still standing, marching with his warriors, burning cities, screaming for justice, and reminding us Rome's bloodiest war was not against kings, but against a queen. And in the end, what remained were not the ruins of the burned cities, nor the bodies scattered on the battlefields. What remained was the memory. The living memory of a woman who refused to accept the role of victim, who turned her pain into war and her voice into thunder that crossed the centuries. Boudica did not defeat Rome with swords, but with something that not even 1,000 legions could destroy: immortal courage. She lost the war on paper, but he won in the soul of history. And perhaps deep down, this was the greatest victory, because as long as we speak your name, as long as we tell his story with an open heart and a lit eye, as long as a single person remembers that a mother, a woman, a queen dared to face the greatest empire in the world, she will still be standing, marching, screaming, and inspiring all those who refuse to bow their heads. This is not just the story of Rome. It's the story of what happens when fury meets injustice and courage meets destiny. If this story really touched you, if at some point you felt something change within you, as if Boudica's spirit had whispered that justice is still worth fighting for, then I ask you for something sincere. Return. Not to me, but to history itself. This video was made with soul, so that every forgotten detail would be remembered. If you learned anything here, if this made you see the past with different eyes, leave the like now. This helps this message reach more people who, like you, also deserve to feel this transformation. And if you believe that knowledge can awaken courage, subscribe to the channel. Here, with each new video, you don't watch it, you live the story, and those who live will never be the same. Again, together we are resurrecting truths, together we are legion.